Joining me today is George Frangeskide, Executive Chairman of Alba Minerals Executive. Thanks for joining me today, George.
Thanks, Fran.
Now, on Monday, the company announced that it had commenced the second phase of drilling at Clogau in Wales. So in regard to this news, can you tell us what this drilling is targeting and how it differs from the first phase?
Sure. Well, the current phase of drilling is actually targeting a zone that we discovered last October when we were underground drilling. It's what we think is a 550-metre extension to the main lode. The main lode is where most of the historic production at Clogau took place. So we've hit that 550-metre extension in a couple of places. What we're doing now from surface is at a different angle, we're going to pepper that 550-metre extension and try to prove up the continuity of that zone. So it's a big target. We know there's quartz veins there. It's just a question of whether it's continuous all the way along. At the same time, the drilling is going to hit a couple of other targets. So two other main areas of production at Clogau were the 710 lode and the grandfather's lode. So this drilling is also going to be going underneath those two lodes and seeing if there's continuity of the vein structure beneath, where again there's been no previous mining. So this is a really big target and quite important drilling. So we're confident that we'll hit the right mineralization, but it's quite a long program. It's a 2,000-meter program. It's going to take a couple of months probably.
So a couple of months, is that how you envision how long this phase is going to take?
Yeah, I mean, as we did previously, though, as and when results are coming out, when we're seeing the drill core coming out, we'll periodically put updates out to the market so that shareholders can see how it's going. So we'll do that, but we won't know the grades as such until we send the core back to the assay lab, and that's the same with the first phase. I mean, the core is currently with the assay lab for the first phase, and we're just waiting on those results. So we won't know the full picture till the end, but we'll see the picture emerging through the drilling, and we'll keep people updated about that. So that's what we're up to in terms of the drilling, at least.
Great. Now, on Tuesday, you had some further news. You released a statement stating that the evaluation pitting of the historic waste rock dump at Clogau is to commence shortly. Can you tell us what the objective of this exercise is exactly?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a two-pronged approach here at Clogau. We're trying to hit these big zones that have never been mined before and trying to prove them up, because that will be what underpins the long-term commercial production at Clogau. So that's very important. It's a longer-term play, not that long, to be quite frank. We still, want to get this thing into production within a year or two, but we need those zones to be proved up for that. So that's why we're doing that drilling, and we'll move into bulk sampling as well again underground. But in the meantime, there are other opportunities at Clogau for getting early revenues, and one of those key objectives is the waste rock dump. So that's basically material that's amassed over time, over the decades of prior production. And, in the old days, what they used to do is drill and blast, take the rock, the quartz vein and the waste rock out of the mine, and by hand, visually by hand, they would just sort, and the obvious gold-bearing quartz veins they'd put to one side for processing, and the rest of it, the waste rock, but also what may have looked like barren quartz vein, was put into the dump, was just tipped into the dump. So it is inevitable that gold has also been tipped into the dump, because as you can understand from what I've just said, manual sorting is not going to be infallible by any shape or means, and the finer fractions are what we're interested in. So what we're doing at the moment is we're pitting. We are digging 9 pits, moving about 135 tonne of rock, so it's quite a big exercise. It's actually going very quickly. And we're screening that rock. The oversize we put back into the pit is the small fractions and the fine fractions that we're interested in. That's where we think the gold should lie from the waste rock dump. So we'll then take 50 kgs or thereabouts from each of those pits, and we'll send that to the lab, and we'll see what the gold content is. And if it goes well, that is, as I said, a potentially very significant discovery and an early cash flow for the project. So, but we'll know that actually very quickly. Within the next month, we'll have the answer on that.
Okay. Again, so you can say within the next month, that's when you envision having results?
Yeah, I mean, the pitting's going really well. I put out a video about it on Twitter this morning, and it's going very quickly, to be frank. So we expect to be finished, within a matter of days. Then it's a question of bagging the samples up and sending them to the lab. Then it's the lab's normal time of turnaround, typically, a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks at most. So, as I said in the RNS the other day, this time next month, middle of next month, we should have a definitive answer on those 9 pits. Now, it isn't a definitive answer on the whole thing. We could have missed it, but the fact that we take 9 pits across this dump is going to give us a really good idea of what the potential is there. And then after that, we'd move into large scale collecting of the dump and pitting it and processing it, subject to getting all the permissions in place. But it would be a big exercise in itself. So we're pretty excited at the potential of getting some early stage revenues out of that.
That's great. And in regard to other ongoing projects, you recently put out some news regarding the Limerick Base Metals project. Can you explain what you're doing here?
Yeah, look, we've renewed the Limerick license recently. Limerick's an area the Limerick Basin is an area that's got very big zinc-lead deposits, and there's been some really good drilling there recently, very close to our ground, in fact, with some really high-grade intercepts of zinc-lead. So it's a known world-class zinc-lead basin, and our project is in a good location. It's had very little drilling done on it over time, maybe 8 or 9 holes in total. We've had some people who are experts in the field revisit, review and assimilate and compile all of the data sets that have been amassed over time, including some much more recent ones that have been done at an island countrywide level. And they've come up with 3 different target zones that are interesting, one of which will involve shallow drilling to check the stratigraphy as what they think it is, and thereafter go into deep drilling. So we're still, really positive about the potential at our Limerick project, and this work has really pointed up that potential is still there, and actually the historic drilling probably hasn't really tapped it sufficiently for us to know exactly what's going on there. So we're going to keep going, and later in the year I'd hope we do some drilling there.
That's great. And just touching on your projects in Greenland, do you have any work being done here or planned at the present time?
Yeah, look, we're really busy on Greenland. It's all under the surface. It's like a duck swimming along, and flapping wildly under the surface. So we are very busy planning our drilling programs at Amitsok and Tule Black Sands. Tule Black Sands, we're going to be looking to increase our resource substantially there. And Amitsok, we're looking to get our first resource. And it might sound like we've done things a bit back to front at Amitsok, but with graphite, the mineralogy is so important. So we've spent a lot of time both collecting the relevant material on site and then processing it and testing it in the labs, most recently with Pro Graphite in Germany. So that's looking really good. It's looking amenable so far to battery grade graphite, which is the big sector. The big demand growth that's coming is from the electric vehicle sector. So we're looking like we're really good for that at the moment. Pro Graphite are doing some more work as we speak, which we'll be putting out once it's finalised. And as I say, really busy on getting those drilling programs finalised, ready for summer drilling, COVID permitting. But we're finding ways and means to make that happen. So there'll be more on that as we sort of manage to finalise those programs on RNS in due course.
Great. Thank you so much, George.
Thanks, Fran.